Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is installment number 150 of Revolutions. Yes, if you think that I show you 20 records every time, multiplied by 150, that's a lot of records, and that's a lot of crap talked by me. um, in any case, thank you for your ongoing support and being here with me and commenting and watching and interacting and all the rest. This week I appeared on no less than 3 live streams. One with French vinyl addict Romuald, one with Dom, Seeking a Thread, and one on Jose's channel. I can leave links if you want, and you can check those channels, sub them if you're not subbed to them, and all that jazz. And if you want to watch me babble incessantly on live streams, then there they are. In any case, I was going to do a live stream myself, but I'm finding it difficult to find a time that is suitable, because here, being in Australia, the time zones are so vastly different. We are a good 14 hours in front of the US, probably about 8 or 9 hours with Europe or something along those lines, and it's a bit difficult to find time. But I will try to get a live stream happening, because I want to do a video on record collecting, and that would be a good occasion to have a little panel and talk shit about record collecting. Who knows? Time will tell. So here are the records that I've chosen for edition 150 of Revolutions. I hope it's a good one. So this morning I revisited this wonderful record, George Gershwin playing Rhapsody in Blue, record that will forever remind me of my wife, who you can see just behind me there, who bought this for me at a thrift store and gave it to me as a little present, because she thought I might like it. And as a result, I'll always treasure it. But I pulled out this record as a result of a conversation I had with Stanty and French Vinyl Addict on a live stream, reminding me of the greatness of Rhapsody in Blue, one of the sort of monuments of the 20th century. So it just made me want to hear it again, and it's not a bad thing. And this morning I also played this sort of ethnographic type record, The Music of Arabia, Hanan, and an ensemble of Arabian musicians. This is the one and only album by Hanan, a Lebanese singer. She released this in 1959 under the name The Arabian Nightingale, and is a vocal Egyptian Lebanese tinged ensemble and record, very, very light, sort of a bit moody and melancholic, with some really amazing percussion on it, really sort of vibrant type percussion. Scored this for basically nothing, and these are the kinds of records that I love picking up for cheap on my cherished World Record Club. I've made an entire video about World Record Club, so if you want to hear about that, just check the video. And the Gershwin is also a World Record Club, I believe, which is cool. I'll continue with more sort of ethnic type music. Here is an absolute sensational record from Mali, Soribamba du Mali. Songhai music, obviously, which is typical Malian music, quite rhythmic, quite close in spirit to its cousins from other neighboring countries, be it high life or Afrobeat or that kind of like really happy music. Because obviously I think Mali would be probably the most diverse, musically speaking, of all the countries that I can think of in Africa. Due to there's the griot traditions, there's you've got Tuareg blues, you've got a lot of very different styles, but this is just happy, bouncy, joyful West African music, and I recommend that you listen to Foret, track 2, which is just jaunty and joyful and absolute amazing African record. Got a fistful of krautrock type records that I've been revisiting, starting with this wonderful LP by Deuter Alm, his second album, Georg Deuter, the German ambient new age musician. This record sounds like what the cover looks like. It's very peaceful, spiritual, meditative. It's kind of a journey, really. Deuter very much plays acoustic instruments and just blends his sounds into a sort of an ambient soup of sorts. You know, there's all sorts of instruments there, I think, even including sitars, if my memory serves me right. And I remember buying this in Kassel in Germany, where I was staying for a month, and I love how destroyed it is. You know, it's lived a long happy life, and it keeps living here. Very highly recommended second album, 1972. I also revisited this wonderful Embryo record, Embryo's Reise, Embryo's Trip, or Voyage if you like. And it says there at the back, recordings from Afghanistan, Pakistan and India. And so you have a mix of progressive rock, ambient, and also kind of an ethnic, a very strong ethnic feel. But some songs retain a kind of like very sort of traditional rock type, you know, bass, and some songs are just completely lifted from their travels. I think it's Embryo's most diverse and most kooky album, I think, and probably one of their best, really. I mean, everyone goes typically to other Embryo, like Opal, for example, but this is a great record as well. Things that are on my shelf for years and years that I just love revisiting. Another example, Cloudschulz's Mirage, one of Schulz's best, and undeniably. I think maybe for me is one that I would pull at the most. Again, very meditative, spacey, electronic, Berlin School type of deal. You know, it's just Cloudschulz with synths basically and computers, Moogs. You look at the list of instruments: ARP, Odyssey, Mini Moog, Micro Moog, Poly Moog, Farfisa, Octave, Filter Bank, Revox, and the like. I mean, the guy knew how to use computers and synths and wasn't afraid to. Mirage is from 1975 or 6 or 4, I don't know, on Brain. And a sort of Cloudschulz related record, The Wonderful Sight. Now, this is an ambient monolith. this record, it's kind of like a proto, like if you think of the ambient that was to come in the 80s and 90s and so on, this is like the mother Zeit, which means time in German, obviously. You've got this striking image of a solar eclipse or lunar eclipse or whatever it is. This has it all. It's got the striking cover. It's got the brooding monolithic sounds. Nothing much happens on this, but if you concentrate enough, you'll hear very sort of almost imperceptible changes. It's like listening to Aphex Twin or, you know, that kind of music, or Gas, Wolfgang Voigt Gas. You know, nothing much happens, but then there's little modulations. Speaking of an ambient masterpiece, here is the great Sub Strata by Biosphere. which originally came out in 1997 or 1998, and this being a 2018 reissue, repress, which sounds fantastic actually. Now this is again like super classic ambient. What to say about Biosphere? I mean, I would just take a listen instead of me trying to describe what kind of music this is. But I would say it's perfect for late night listening. You put this on, it's a bit like something like Selected Ambience Work Volume 2 by Aphex Twin, or you know, there's music for airports kind of records, but we're in the same kind of ballpark, very sort of spacey ambient. And I would say not a million miles away from this one, really. I'll continue with some more sort of ambience. This is a brand new record. In Electric Time, Jeremiah Chew, on one of the latest releases on the International Anthem label. Went to a shop, improvised, not to a shop, to a museum, sorry. Improvised and record direct to Tascam 388 with the use of MIDI at the Vintage Synth Museum of Los Angeles in 2023. So he went to the Vintage Museum and then just proceeded to record like an improvised piece. It's very spacey, very kind of, yeah, it's just again, a very relaxing kind of moody piece. I must confess that I have not yet heard this enough to make a proper judgment on it. I like it, but I can't, you know, I can't make a great, meaningful, like a deep and meaningful comment on this record. But it's just been released, basically. Another new release which I've played a lot. It's got an OB that's kind of. This is Simon Maven. Some Days. This is a brand new release. As you can see, there's not many of them. So Simon Maven plays the keyboards in Hiatus Coyote, the Melbourne neo-soul ensemble group led by what's the name? Napalm. So everybody knows Hiatus Coyote. And some of its members have made very interesting records. So this is very, very interesting for me. It's a solo piano record. Similar to a Keith Jarrett, a Niels Fram, Hanya Rani record. If you like those records, if you like that sound, Jan Tiersen, if you like that sound, this record will be absolutely for you. But can you find this record? You can listen to it on Bandcamp at the very least. And it's just been released. You know, maybe they'll do another run of it. I don't know. I mean, it's widely available in Melbourne at the moment, and I kind of was, you know, like I was taken by the package as well, and I listened to it on Bandcamp, and I loved it, and I've been playing it lots, so it's great. Yesterday I was on a live stream with Jose, and we talked about the Penguin Cafe Orchestra. And I left this out and just played the records again. I mean, the sound of Someone You Love Was Going Away and Doesn't Matter, that's got to be one of the best pieces of music that I can think of. Starts very delicate, acoustic guitar, then you get all these violins and cellos, you know, going in. Oh, it's just absolutely delicate, wonderful music. 1974 to 1976 recorded. The band led by obviously Simon Jeffs. I mean, Penguin Cafe is more than a band, it's an institution, it's practically a cult, really. And no, just a beautiful record on Obscure, the Brian Eno label. Very highly recommended. some electronic type music. Here is a record that, I mean, it's an artist that I personally love. It's Nicholas Jar. Don't know if you can see the name there. Yeah, the bottom there, Nicholas Jar. And this is Sirens, which is his first solo album, maybe. I can't remember. It's from 2012 or thereabouts. Can't remember the year now. Is there a year on the record? The package is really quite interesting. I mean, this came with a penny, and you can scratch the cover, and it reveals the cover that then, if you look on Discogs, there's a colorful cover which is like black, and I can put a picture there somewhere there. Well, if you scratch this with the coin, the picture appears, but I don't want to do that. I want to keep it that way because it's a true first pressing, and I don't want to wreck it. I love Nicholas Jar. I love his ambient work. I love his glitchy work. This is kind of straddles the line between art pop, ambient pop, glitch, electronic. You know, if you like the stuff he did with Dark Side, for example, this is very close, kind of relative to Dark Side. So go and take a listen. I think it's his first solo album. On Dom's live stream, Sick in the Thread, we were talking about Foret, and we talk about this record here. Morning Evening, it's called. It's a record that Foret put out in 2000 and I want to say 13, 14, no, 14, yeah, 14, 15, there we go. And it's comprised of 2 tracks, which are basically samples of the first track, Morning, has got this beautiful Bollywood or sort of Hindustani, even female voice, which is cut up and sampled and layered over beats. It's just trance-inducing. I would very, very much recommend this record. I love Kieran Hebden, I love Foret, and this is still available, funnily enough. I mean, you know, because Dom was kind of saying, oh, you know, this is hard to get now or whatnot, but I was looking on Discogs, just, you know, and you could still find some copies, at least here in Australia you could, so I presume in the US or wherever you are, you could probably find this. I find it wonderful personally. Here is an album that I've had in my shelf ever since it was released. Flying Lotus, You're Dead, with its stunning, stunning package and its cast of absolute, you know, from Angel Duradurian, Snoop Dogg, Thundercat, Herbie Hancock, Kendrick Lamar, Kamasi Washington. I mean, you know, the list goes on. You'd think, I mean, you know, with a cast like this, but I don't know, I've never been able to actually get this record properly. I've never been able to actually get into this record. I'm much more like Cosmogramma, for example. But I've still kept it because there's something about it that's kind of compelling to me. I want to break the mystery of You're Dead. It's basically a new jazz record. It's jazz fusion, like what they call new jazz, NU, you know, new jazz, which is electronic music fused with jazz fusion, and you get this brew of, you know, kind of modern Electric Miles, you know, on steroids, you know. And there's some moments on this which are just genius, like it's brilliant, and you think, I wish the whole thing was on that level, but I'll still keep it for now. Here is a wonderful record that I hadn't played for a while, and every time I play this record, I really, really have a great time. It is Kelly Lee Owens in a song. She's an English art pop electronic artist. This is kind of a mix between, yeah, ambient techno and art pop, if I can, you know. She does the opening track is this really great cover of Weird Fishes by Radiohead, which you find on In Rainbows, but it's just redone in a way which is very glitchy, electronic. She has a lovely voice, and she's got very good taste in producing this. There's not a spare note on this. It's very, very sparse and beautiful, and kind of, yeah, it's got a very lovely ambient quality. Very, yeah, it's kind of sublime in places. Like it's a beautiful record in a song. That came out during lockdown. I remember buying this during lockdown. 2020, yeah, correct. Vaguely related, not really. Another UK band that sort of dabbled in electronics, the Associates from Scotland. The Associates for me were geniuses, like absolute bona fide geniuses. This is a compilation of some of their better known hits, like White Car in Germany and the song The Associates. Tell Me Easter's on Friday, great tunes. The Associates are basically a more operatic version of David Bowie's glam period. Like it's got this kind of glam post-punk kind of sheen, very, very operatic. If Bowie and the Sparks made a band, they'd be called the Associates. Bowie circa sort of low, and low meets Kimono My House, something like that. Staying on kind of like 80s pop, if you will, here is a very, very, very good record from the Australian art pop act, Not Drowning Waving, The Cold and the Crackle. It is their third album, original on Rough Trade and Rampant Records, Australia. Not Drowning Waving is the project of David Bridie, keyboardist extraordinaire. To me, I see them as Australia's answer to Japan, basically. Not Drowning Waving. I've got quite a few of their records, probably about 5 of their records, and I like them all. And this is just a beautiful evolution of their sound, which was the first 2 records are very sort of like stripped down, and this is more fleshed out. There's more production, but all the same, I mean, when you think on the pop album, you've got tablas, bowed cymbals, marimbas, piano, harmonium, you've got tape loops, you've got, bells, congas. I mean, it's, yeah, can you go wrong? I reckon if you like Japan, you would like this band. I was chatting to Romuald, French vinyl addict, and he was saying, oh, do you know this record by Max Roach? Apparently it's really, really good. There's percussion by Olatunji on it. And so I thought, well, yes, I have it, and I haven't played it forever and ever. So I'm going to take it out and play it, and obviously it's a masterpiece. Need to say more. Max Roach, Freedom Now Suite, with the crazy vocals of Abby Lincoln, who just goes off like a fucking rocket. Max Roach, the greatest drummer, you could argue, the greatest jazz drummer that ever was. I mean, no, it's not true. I mean, you've got, Tony Williams, you've got Art Blakey, you've got, you got so many great drummers, but Max Roach got to be there. It's got to be up there in maybe the top 5. Just such a distinctive style, and as a band leader, just so much creativity. With Olatunji, as you can see there. Wonderful. I should play Max Roach. I've got a lot of Max Roach on my shelf, and I should play it more. Speaking of which, here is a record that I blind bought probably, I would say 2-3 years ago in a local shop. Never heard of John Dennis, but when you've got Max Roach on drums and Charles Mingus on bass, it's got to be good. At the very least, those two people are not going to go and play with. And in fact, it's very, very good. It's a bit like a Monk record, you know, with a lesser known, you know, main, main man in the band. You know, John Dennis is not a household name, but he's got a very light touch. It's a lovely post-bop record. I mean, I don't know how easy it would be to find, but I found this for really cheap in a local record store, and I thought, wow, let's fuck it. I'll just take it. But you couldn't even listen to it online because there was no, you know. But I'm glad I kept it. It's a beautiful, beautiful record. John Dennis, piano expressions or new piano expressions. Sorry. Here is a revisit of a Canadian band. I think they're from Toronto. Actually, this was recorded in London, Ontario, Canada. There we go. It's so this is the London, and London is not London, England. It's London, Ontario. London Experimental Jazz Quintet with invisible roots, kind of like a lost classic type of deal. Kind of avant-garde jazz, free jazz, experimental jazz. Really, we're in that sort of, I mean, they're called the Experimental Jazz Quintet, I mean, obviously. But there's a tune on this, which is called Destroy the Nihilistic Picnic, which is the one that, you know, people would know about because it's kind of like been put on various compilations, you know, as this kind of. And this was reissued by a local label, Roundtable Jazz, a few years ago, 2020, yes. And I picked it up then because it, you know, it's just a local repress. It was just interesting. But it's not a record that I would say rush to buy it because it's just okay, really. That's more than an okay record. This is a killer record. Billy Higgins, Mr. Billy Higgins. Just this is a vastly, vastly underrated record. So this is Billy Higgins, the drummer, Billy Higgins, who, if you like jazz, you would know Billy Higgins. And he plays with a cast of sort of very under the radar players. I mean, I can't say that I've really ever heard too much of any of these guys, but they make a sound. John Coltrane, the second tune, 12 minutes 19 seconds, is a feast for the ears. What a tune, so spirited, so much energy, so much creativity. Like, obviously you're going to call a song John Coltrane, it's got to sound good. I mean, you know, you're referencing the king, basically. It's got to be at least, this pays more than sufficient homage to John Coltrane. It's just a great modal jazz record. This is what I will say. I mean, you know, take a listen to it. I bought this from my friend Mr. Anthony Camplone, who's selling off his collection, and it's a record that I wanted for years and years. I could never find it, and then, well, it appeared. A nod to my good friend Chris Core, who generously gifted this record to me years and years ago. Morning Sky, Sea of Dreams, kind of a jazz funk meets psych record. It's very hard to define. It's like if you imagine kind of a US psych record, but with lots of flute and like drums and like kind of, you know, loose funky drums. That's what you've got there. And with lovely vocals by Barbara London, who's here. Yeah, kind of an obscure classic of sorts. Just 1976, from a record from New Hampshire, Durham, New Hampshire. You know, looks almost like I mean, it was probably at the time a private press. I don't know. Yeah, look at this Morning Sky. Well, absolutely privately pressed. One for the Acid Archives, maybe. For the crew who is into the acid archives, there's a record there. A couple more, and I'll finish. Revisited the Oimels by the Wolfgang Diana Quintet. Yeah. So the Oimels is it's a jazz funk record from Germany. You may know there's a track on this called Uvi. There you go. This track there, which will give you a good sample of sitar and drums, and it's just one of these kind of funky numbers. So I revisited that. I really enjoyed it. It was good. And last but not least, I was I was talking to French Van Wydict again, and we were just chatting, and we were talking about Swedish records, and he said, "Oh, I don't know many Swedish records," and I said, "Well, this is the one I'm thinking of when I think of Swedish psych prog record. Bo Hansson with Lord of the Rings, cheap heat extraordinary in Australia. You can never pay them more than $10-15 for this record. It's everywhere, and it's literally the best record you can buy for that price. Literally, it's just such a groovy, psyche, slow burning record. I'm surprised at times that not more people know about this, because they look at the cover and they think, oh, it's fucking Lord of the Rings again. But make no mistake, this is a psych classic, an absolute classic. It's this version is on the famous Charisma label. It originally came out in Sweden under the name Sagen om Ringen, I think, and it's got a very different, more beautiful cover. But I would buy this any day of the week. It's a beautiful record. There you go for installment 150 of Revolutions. Hope I didn't bore the shit out of you. Talk to me. Here's to another 150. Take care.